All four teams who played in last year's conference championships are still alive, heading into the NFL Divisional playoffs this weekend. We are guaranteed at least one newcomer, however. The Cincinnati Bengals, led by second-year quarterback Joe Burrow and rookie receiver Jamar Chase, will take on the top-seeded Tennessee Titans on the road Saturday. Derrick Henry, who has not played since Week 8 because of a foot injury, is set to return. The Saturday nightcap features a classic NFC rivalry between the San Francisco 49ers and the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau Field. Aaron Rodgers is 0-3 against the 49ers in the postseason, and the 49ers have been hot with an offense that features Deebo Samuel and George Kittle. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers routed the Philadelphia Eagles in the NFC wildcard round, and that run at home continues against the Los Angeles Rams. Tom Brady has the defending Super Bowl champions on point heading into the divisional round. And finally, the Kansas City Chiefs and Buffalo Bills will close the weekend out in the rematch of last year's AFC Championship. Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen combined for 10 touchdown passes in the wildcard round. So the defenses better be ready. Hello, friends, and welcome to another edition of Strictly Sports NFL Thursday. This is our divisional playoff edition of Strictly Sports NFL Thursday. I am your host, Anthony Florio, joined as always, by good old MF Michael Fletcher. We are maybe awaiting the presence of Michael Bullock. If Bullock comes in, we'll catch him up on what he missed. If not, then we'll hopefully have him back with us tomorrow night for the Cerebral Smack Talk. Before we get into our divisional playoff preview, let's quickly go through the events of Super Wildcard Weekend, which went down last weekend, and we had the 6 games, and 4 of them unfortunately ended up being blowouts. Only 2 games finished had a 1-score outcome. The other 4 were blowouts. So we started it off with it was the number 5 seed, the Las Vegas Raiders, squaring off against the number 4 seed, the Cincinnati Bengals. And when all was said and done, it was the Cincinnati Bengals who came up with the win, their first playoff win in 31 years, as they defeated the Las Vegas Raiders by a score of 26-19. And, well, there's nothing left to say except this game will unfortunately be marred in controversy, which as we all know, it was on a 3rd and 4 from the Raiders' 10-yard line. Joe Burrow ran to the right side of the field and threw the ball to Tyler Boyd for a touchdown, just as his foot was about to go out of bounds. The play was controversial as one of the officials appeared to blow his whistle slightly before Boyd made the catch, while the ball was still in the air. But the touchdown stood, and it gave the Bengals a 20-6 lead with 1:51 left. And that ended up being the difference maker, as the Cincinnati Bengals won the game by a score of 26-19. First home playoff win, or a playoff win in general, since January of 91. So looking at the box score for this one, looking at the numbers, if you will, Joe Burrow, 24 of 34, 244 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Joe Mixon was the leading rusher, 48 yards on 17 carries. Jamar Chase, 116 yards on 9 catches. CJ Uzomah and Tyler Boyd had touchdown receptions. And defense recorded 3 sacks and also had an interception as well. Derek Carr, 29 of 54, 310 yards, touchdown and an interception. Josh Jacobs, 83 yards rushing. Darren Waller, the leading receiver, 76 yards on 7 catches. Zay Jones had a touchdown reception. Raider defense had 2 sacks, no interceptions. And the Cincinnati Bengals moved on, and they will take on the Tennessee Titans. Second game, and then the other game, of course, what else is there to say? I mean, we hyped this as our game of the week, as it was the number 6 seed, the New England Patriots, squaring off against the number 3 seed, the Buffalo Bills. First time they had ever met in this modern era of the playoffs, and we were expecting maybe a possible 5-star classic, maybe some Shakespearean drama in this one. No, not even close. The Buffalo Bills just absolutely dominated the game from start to finish, much to my delight. It was pretty much over in the first quarter, and the Buffalo Bills won the game by a score of 47-17. Josh Allen, 21 of 25, 308 yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. Devin Singletary, 81 yards on 16 carries, had 2 rushing touchdowns. Dawson Knox led the receiving corps with 89 yards on 5 catches. He had 2 touchdowns of his own. Gabriel Davis had a touchdown reception. Emmanuel Sanders with a touchdown reception. And you know a game is out of hand when a big fella catches a touchdown pass. Oh yeah, we had a big boy moment here. Tommy Doyle, big old lineman, he caught a touchdown pass. Defense recorded 3 sacks and also had 2 interceptions of Mac Jones. And speaking of the Patriots, Mac Jones, 24 of 38, 232 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Damian Harris only had 30 yards. Ramondre Stevenson had 27. Kendrick Bourne was the lone bright spot for the Patriots. 7 catches, 77 yards, 2 touchdowns for him. Defense had no sacks whatsoever, no interceptions, and it was all Buffalo. And I know for me, I mean, we all had a feeling they were going to win. I just didn't think it was going to be this decisive. I really, really didn't. And then somehow, some way that ended up happening. And I can't tell you how delighted I was to see all that. And with that win, the Buffalo Bills now earn themselves a date and a rematch with the Kansas City Chiefs, which will be the main event of Divisional playoff weekend. And we'll conclude the show with that preview. So those were the Saturday games. Moving on to the Sunday games. Your reigning, defending, undisputed Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers hosting the Philadelphia Eagles. This one was another blowout, although Philly made a late charge, but Tampa was just too good. 31-15. Tampa Bay wins. Tom Brady, another masterful performance from him. 29 of 37, 271 yards. He had 29 of 37, 271 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Keyshawn Vaughn and Giovanni Bernard had rushing touchdowns. Mike Evans, 117 yards, had a touchdown. Gronk had a touchdown reception as well. Defense recorded 2 sacks and also had 2 interceptions. On the other side, Jalen Hurts, 23 of 43, 258 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Boston Scott, a 34-yard touchdown run. And Kenneth Gainwell had the receiving touchdown. Dallas Goedert was the leading receiver for Philly, 92 yards on 6 catches. Defense, but the one bright spot was the defense. Defense recorded 4 sacks, but they didn't have any interceptions. But they just dug themselves too big of a hole. And by the way, Philadelphia, the number 7 seed in the NFC. Tampa Bay, the number 2 seed in the NFC. And Tampa Bay moves on, and we'll get to their opponent in just a moment. The game of Wild Card Weekend, beyond the shadow of a doubt, a renewal of a great NFC playoff rivalry. The numbers are, I believe, 6 seed San Francisco 49ers against the number 3 seed Dallas Cowboys. And the San Francisco 49ers winning the game 23-17. Dallas was going for a late drive trying to win, but the referee got in the way because you have to hand the ball off to the referee, the umpire there. And he was way out of position, screwed it up, and that ended up being all she wrote for the Dallas Cowboys. The time expired, and San Francisco stole one in Jerry World. Jimmy Garoppolo, not the best of days, 16-25, 172 yards, no touchdown passes. He threw an interception. The running game. My boy, Elijah Mitchell, 27 carries, 96 yards, had a touchdown. MF's boy, Debo Samuel, 10 carries, 72 yards, had a touchdown of his own. Brandon Ayuk was the leading receiver, 66 yards on 5 catches. Defense recorded 5 sacks and an interception. In a losing effort for the Dallas Cowboys, Dak Prescott, 23 of 43, 254 yards, a touchdown and an interception. The punter, Brian Anger, had a fake punt moment, and he completed a 16-yard pass. Ezekiel Elliott, only 31 yards rushing. Yeesh, that's not going to get it done. Dak Prescott had a rushing touchdown, had 27 yards of his own. Dalton Schultz was the leading receiver with 89 yards on 7 catches. Amari Cooper had a receiving touchdown to go with 64 yards on 6 catches. Dallas defense recorded no sacks, but they did have an interception by Anthony Brown for 23 yards. And San Francisco 49ers now have a date with the number 1 seed in the NFC, the Green Bay Packers, on what is going to be a frozen night at the frozen tundra, and we'll explain that when we get to that game. To the guys and gals over at Fox, bring your long johns, folks, because you're going to be in for a cold one. And then the final game of Sunday, it was the number 7 seed. It was the number 7 seed in the AFC, the Pittsburgh Steelers squaring off against the number 2 seed, your back-to-back AFC champion Kansas City Chiefs. Another blowout. Kansas City wins 42-21. Patrick Mahomes, vintage Patrick Mahomes, 30 of 39, 404 yards, 5 touchdowns. He did throw an interception, though. And Travis Kelce threw a 2-yard touchdown pass in the win. Jerick McKinnon, leading rusher, 61 yards. Travis Kelce, 108 yards receiving, had a touchdown. McKinnon, 81 yards receiving and a touchdown. Tyreek Hill, 57 yards and a touchdown for him. And Byron Pringle, 37 yards, had 2 touchdowns. And Nick Allegretti had a touchdown of his own. Defense recorded 2 sacks. And that's pretty much all they did. They didn't really need the defense. The offense did all the work. Pittsburgh, Ben Roethlisberger in his final game, 29 of 44, 215 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Running game did next to nothing. Najee Harris only had 29 yards to lead. James Washington and Deontay Johnson, touchdown receptions. Defense did record 3 sacks, and they actually had an interception, Devin Bush, for 10 yards. But it was all Kansas City. And, of course, we know what the main event of the weekend will be, Buffalo and Kansas City. And then from there, the final game, the first ever Monday night playoff game, the number 5 seed in the NFC, the Arizona Cardinals, and the number 4 seed, the Los Angeles Rams. At SoFi, the home of the Super Bowl. And this was another blowout, theme of the weekend. Rams winning 34-11. Matthew Stafford, 13-17, 202 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Sony Michel and the returning Cam Akers. Michel had 58 yards, including a long of 35. Cam Akers, 55 yards in his return. Matthew Stafford had a rushing touchdown. Go figure. The receiving core, my number 1 stud in fantasy, on my fantasy team, that is, Cooper Kupp, 61 yards and a touchdown for him. OBJ caught a touchdown, Odell Beckham Jr. The Ram defense recorded 2 sacks. Also had 2 interceptions. And one of them was a pick six by David Long Jr. On the other side of the coin, for the Arizona Cardinals, Kyler Murray, 19 of 34, 137 yards, no TDs, threw 2 picks. Chase Edmonds was the leading rusher, 28 yards for him. James Conner had a rushing touchdown, and defense only had 1 sack, and that's pretty much all she wrote. And the Rams will now face off against Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Sunday afternoon. So that's wild card weekend in a nutshell. I mean, like I said, Niners and Cowboys, the game of the weekend, hands down. Raiders, Bengals, a close second. And all the other games, duds. But I'm speaking from a professional standpoint. From a personal standpoint, obviously my favorite game, of course, was seeing my Buffalo Bills open up that can of you-know-what, a la Stone Cold Steve Austin, on the New England Patriots. And 47-17, and they made history in that game by becoming the first team ever to not punt, not go for a field goal, and score a touchdown on every possession, except for the final possession when Mitchell Trubisky was taking kneel downs to end the thing. So two great games, 4 duds, but one dud I'm particularly fine with, and that was my team. So that's really all there was to say about Super Wildcard Weekend in a nutshell. So good old MF Michael Fletcher, come on in. Super Wildcard Weekend has come and gone. 4 blowouts, only 2 exciting games. Niners and Cowboys, that was the hands down the 5-star classic of the bunch. But the game that we did, New England and Buffalo, on that chilly night, boy howdy, it was over before it even started, man. I mean, we've done a lot of playoff games, MF, over the years, and I don't think I have ever recalled a more 5-star perfect performance that we saw out of the Buffalo Bills against the New England Patriots. And there isn't much more to say. So MF, you have a quick thought on Super Wildcard Weekend before we get into the divisional round here?
I mean, when it comes to Wild Card Weekend, I think the biggest surprise was really how the Raiders kind of hung tough on Cincinnati and really made a game out of it. I think a lot of people didn't think that was going to happen. And then Dallas, oh my goodness, Dallas. Many people had them as the favorite going to the Super Bowl. A lot of people felt like this was going to be their year. And the Niners literally took that game away from them. Jumped them out early, got into some really good situations, and then Dallas started to look like, I think they realized it was panic, and they started to fight back. They clawed back. Looked like maybe they had a shot at this, but look, I know there's a lot of controversy especially about the end and how the game ended, but I don't know. I mean, it could have gone either way. Dallas looked like they were moving where they were probably going to go for the game-winning touchdown. Time ran out on them, and that's all that you can say. But now the Niners has themselves a heck of a matchup going in. And like you said, all the remaining games were blowouts. I mean, the Arizona blowout was shocking in my mind. I thought Arizona was going to put much more of a fight than they did. They didn't really. I was a little shocked about how the Rams dominated that game, and it also proves to us that actually maybe the liability in Cleveland is actually Baker Mayfield and not Odell Beckham Jr. as some people thought it was. As far as New England and Buffalo, Anthony, I got to say it. The Bills played the perfect game. When you're going into New England, you go up against the Patriots. You guys know each other so well. So you're like, all right, how are we going to, what can we do this time to get the leg up? And what they did was they literally punched New England in the mouth. They punched them in the mouth, and New England just did not have any answer for Buffalo. Every time Buffalo had the ball, they ended up scoring a touchdown. That is unheard of in the NFL. And I'll tell you one thing, they put a lot of teams on notice with that performance. But we'll get into the one against Kansas City because, oh boy, that could be a long afternoon for both teams. I mean, this could, we'll wait and see. But at the end of the day, yeah, all great matches, all great games. Anthony, let's get into divisionals.
All right. So with that being said, here we go. The divisional playoffs. They're here and they're now, and let's get right on into business here. As we will start it off with the game that will kick it all off. Late Saturday afternoon, 4:30 kickoff, and this game will be over on CBS. And it will feature the number 4 seed in the AFC, the Cincinnati Bengals, squaring off against the number 1 seed, the Tennessee Titans, from Nissan Stadium in Nashville, Tennessee. Iron Eagle, Charles Davis, Evan Washburn will have the call for that one. Tennessee opening up as a 3.5-point favorite. These two teams have met in the playoffs once before. And ironically, this was the Cincinnati Bengals' last playoff win before the other day. Before last week. It was the Cincinnati Bengals defeating the then Houston Oilers 41-14 in the wild card round at the old Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati, 41-14 final. So only the second meeting between these two teams. So with that, let's dive on in. The opening line moved down, and the Bengals are a trendy upset pick here. Cincinnati is 6-3 against the spread and 5-4 straight up as an underdog this season. The Titans ranked second in the NFL in run defense this season, and the Bengals cannot abandon the run early to keep a solid Tennessee pass rush honest. Derrick Henry's return would be huge for the Titans and Ryan Tannehill. The Titans are 2-3 all-time in home playoff games since relocating from Houston. It comes down to the Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase connection for Cincinnati on offense, and whether Trey Hendrickson with a concussion will be available on defense. Burrow showed last week that the moment wasn't too much for him. Tennessee won't be easy, and Cincinnati coach Zach Taylor will have to pick his spots to be aggressive. This comes down to the emerging star in Burrow. They'll have a late touchdown pass to Tyler Boyd that might, or maybe somebody else, you never know. And it could send the Bengals to their first, and they seek their first AFC Championship game appearance since the 1988-1989 season. Whereas, trying to find it here. Whereas the Titans are the most physical team left in the playoffs. They want to smash opponents around with their power running game, which they hope will feature a healthy Derrick Henry again. They also have a stout run defense with good tight end coverage. The Bengals have decided they will go as far as Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and the downfield passing game will take them. The Titans secondary is their weak point, and they have an inconsistent pass rush. Their goal will be jumping out to a nice early lead with a mix of big plays and strong red zone drives to take the Titans out of their ideal game plan with Ryan Tannehill. Cincinnati has momentum from the regular season, and beating Las Vegas soundly gave its defense confidence too. And I think the visitors are better positioned to use their strengths better toward a victory. So this is tough to call. It all depends on Derrick Henry. If Derrick Henry plays, then I got to go with Tennessee. But if he doesn't play, and I haven't heard anything official about him playing yet, if he doesn't play, I think Cincinnati wins. And until I hear that Derrick Henry's playing, I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Bengals to steal one here and pull the upset. 28-24, the Cincinnati Bengals over the Tennessee Titans. But that's only if Derrick Henry doesn't play. If Derrick Henry does play, Tennessee wins. So that's all there is to say on that. So MF, Cincinnati, Tennessee. The big story, of course, Derrick Henry. If Derrick Henry plays, I like Tennessee. If he doesn't, anybody's game.
Yeah, absolutely. This will be a very interesting matchup. I do know for a fact that he is possibly all right. All right. So we're gonna have to wait till tomorrow because I guess Mike Vrabel just announced that yeah. So Titans to make decision on activating Derrick Henry on Friday. So we gotta wait till tomorrow to find out what happens with Derrick Henry. We'll find out if he's gonna play or not. But like you said, even without Derrick Henry, I still got Tennessee winning the game. I actually disagree with you, Anthony. I because Dante Foreman was a very good backup substitute. They picked up right where they left off. The one thing I would say is that if Julio Jones would play, but I don't think he is playing, but that's where you gotta have to talk about, AJ Brown. He's been lighting it up lately. The receiving core's been looking really good. Defensively, they're getting better. And I just don't. I think they're gonna make life miserable for Joe Burrow. Yes, he had a big game against the Raiders, but this is one of the best defenses in all of the NFL with the Tennessee Titans. I think the Titans are going to win it. They're going to the AFC Championship game. And Anthony, it's on to you.
All right, MF, keep your mic on as you'll be leading off on the next matchup. Last week, we had a renewal of one of the great NFC playoff rivalries when the San Francisco 49ers and the Dallas Cowboys squared off. Well, guess what? We're going to renew another great playoff rivalry in the past. Saturday night, 8:15, over on Fox. It'll be the number 6 seed in the NFC, the San Francisco 49ers, squaring off against the number 1 seed, the Green Bay Packers, from the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And that'll be over on Fox, of course. Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, Aaron Andrews, Tom Rinaldi, and Green Bay opening up with the biggest spread of the weekend. Green Bay, the biggest favorite of the week, 5.5 point spread for the Packers. And I've looked into the weather, of course, because it is Green Bay. Hello, and we know what the reputation of Green Bay is. And it's going to be cold. It's going to be just as cold as it was in Buffalo. 8 o'clock, so 7 o'clock their time, I would imagine, because I think they're in the Central Time Zone.
Yep.
7:15 kickoff. The game time temperature, MF, is going to be 11 degrees. It's going to be 11 degrees at kickoff. By game's end, we're most certainly looking at single digits. At least maybe 8 degrees or so. And wind chills will probably be in the negatives. You would have to imagine. It's going to be below 0 with the wind chill, obviously. So definitely something to keep an eye on there. But this is why it's one of the great rivalries. This is going to be the 9th time that these two teams have met in the playoffs. The previous 8, each team has won 4. It's 4-4. This will break the tie right here. First meeting was in 1995. I believe it was either December of 95 or January of 96. They met in this round, the divisional playoff round in San Francisco. Green Bay Packers won that game 27-17. 1997, which was played in January of 98, the NFC Championship game, also in San Francisco. Green Bay Packers won that game by a score of 23-10. The following year, they met again in the wild card round, one of the great wild card round games, also in San Francisco. And I beg your pardon. Yes, 95 was correct. Packers won 27-17 in San Fran. 96, they met and it was in the divisional playoff at Lambeau. Green Bay won 35-14. They went on to win Super Bowl 31 that year. That was January of 97. Then it was January of 98 in the NFC Championship where Green Bay won in San Fran 23-10. 98, January of 99. San Francisco finally broke the jinx. They beat the Packers 30-27. That was the infamous Steve Young to Terrell Owens moment. 2001, wild card round in Lambeau, January of 2002. Green Bay won 25-15. And then 2012, January of 2013, divisional playoff in San Fran. San Fran won 45-31 behind a huge game from Colin Kaepernick. Following year, they met in the wild card round in Green Bay, 2013 and January of 2014. San Fran won 23-20. In their most recent meeting, the 2019 season, it was January of 2020, 2 years ago in San Francisco, NFC Championship. 49ers rolled over the Packers 37-20 behind a huge night from Raheem Mostert. So not much more to say there. Finally got all the schematics out of the way. So MF, here we go again. San Francisco, Green Bay, meeting for the 9th time in the playoffs. This will break the tie 4-4. Bring you along, Johns, Buck, Aikman, Rinaldi, and Andrews. You're going to need it because it's going to be cold.
It's gonna be so cold that you could probably mug somebody with a bucket of water. So that's how it's gonna be, man. You could probably commit armed robbery with a bucket of water. Stealing something from my boy Gus Johnson. One night he said that about a college basketball game. He was in Michigan State. Bill Radley's like, ooh, I'm gonna have to think about that one. So yeah, absolutely. And actually, as a matter of fact, that's probably Anthony Florio. He's probably thinking about it right now. Probably saying, yeah, I'm like, no. So this is going to be a big game. Look, the Niners could probably do the same thing. Play the same strategy that you guys did against Dallas, and that's probably the best way to beat Green Bay. However, with Green Bay, better defense, better attack that they can use, and Aaron Rodgers is the X factor in all of this because you know he's going to be slinging the ball, trying to get Aaron. He's probably going to try get Aaron Jones going. He's probably going to get, the receiving core going, Devontae Adams. And the thing is, they've already had a week to rest and everything else. Plus 2 big defensive stoppers for Green Bay is coming back. And a couple of guys on their offensive line is also coming back. One that protects Aaron Rodgers' blind side. And one of the key guards that was out is going to be back on Saturday night. So if Green Bay is fully completed with their entire arsenal back, San Fran, I don't care who you are, as good as you guys have been, I think it ends here. I got the Green Bay Packers going to the NFC Championship game. Anthony Florio, this is going to be tough, but I just think Green Bay's got too many weapons to lose this game. Could they? It's possible. The Niners are going to have to play almost similar to what they did against the Cowboys, but I just don't see it happening. I got Green Bay winning and advancing.
Agreed. I mean, this is the 9th playoff meeting between the two classic NFC rivals, and that series is knotted at 4-4. The Packers had a week to rest players, and it will be interesting to see who else returns for the playoff run. Aaron Rodgers, who was 0-3 against the 49ers in the postseason, should be fresh as well. The Packers jumped out to a 17-0 lead in the regular season matchup, but needed a last-second field goal to squeak out a 30-28 win. Look for Rodgers to get Devontae Adams, who had 12 catches for 132 yards in the first meeting, involved early to set a tone against a defense that is waiting to see if Nick Bosa on concussion protocol and Fred Warner with an undisclosed injury will be available. Jimmy Garoppolo will have success in the intermediate passing game with George Kittle and Deebo Samuel against a Green Bay defense that was shaky down the stretch. But it comes down to generating a running game. If the Packers can get ahead early, then Garoppolo will have to take too many chances down the stretch. Remember, the Packers were 8-0 straight up and 7-1 against the spread at Lambeau this season. The Niners were 7-3 straight up and 6-4 against the spread on the road. This will be a good one. It's a similar feel to the last game, but the Packers closed the door a little earlier this time. Well, and I mean, I'm right there. All right, here we go. The Packers were having trouble beating the 49ers for a while through the sweep during the 2019 season. including in the 2020 playoffs. They had lost 6 of 7. That changed when Green Bay beat injury-riddled San Francisco last season. Their matchup in September was a thriller through Aaron Rodgers leading a game-winning field goal drive in the final minute. Kyle Shanahan's team matches up well with former offensive coordinator Matt LaFleur's team. The running game and depth of personnel in the passing game have been problems, but Rodgers also should like his matchups against an overachieving secondary, especially if there's no Nick Bosa to provide front four pressure. Where the Packers will succeed is where the Cowboys failed. They won't mind controlling the game with their own rushing attack with the healthy 1-2 punch of Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. That will keep the chains moving with Rodgers and limit the chances for Jimmy Garoppolo. The Packers nearly blew leads of 17-0 early and 24-14 late in the previous meeting. They will learn from that and finish better against the 49ers to remove one big NFC championship obstacle. I agree, MF. I'm going with the Green Bay Packers to win this game as well. High-scoring affair, I think. I'm going to say 34-27. Green Bay knocks off San Francisco. Next up, we move on to the Sunday slate. And it will start Sunday afternoon, 3 p.m. kickoff over on NBC. A matchup of the number 4 seed, the Los Angeles Rams, squaring off against the number 2 seed, the reigning and defending Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Raymond James Stadium, Tampa, Florida. Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, Michelle Tafoya will be on the call for that. Tampa Bay opening up as a 3-point favorite. Third playoff meeting between these two teams. They met twice before, and ironically, both times they met were in the NFC Championship game. 1979, played in January of 1980 at the old Sombrero in Tampa, Florida, the old Tampa Stadium. The Los Angeles Rams defeated the Buccaneers 9-0 to advance to, I believe it was Super Bowl 14, before losing to the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena that year. The other one, I remember this one very vividly. It was in the 1999 season, played in January of 2000 at the Dome at America's Center in St. Louis, which is where the Royal Rumble is going to be a week from Saturday. The St. Louis Rams defeated the Tampa Bay Buccaneers by one of the most unique scores you will ever see. They won that game by a score of 11-6. Kurt Warner found Ricky Prohl for a late touchdown to win the game for the Rams. And, of course, the Rams went on to win the Super Bowl that year. So 2-0 in favor of the Rams franchise. One is LA, the other is St. Louis. So they've won in Tampa before. Question is, can they do it again? Even though that was 40-plus years ago. The Rams have knocked off the Buccaneers in each of the last 2 seasons, so Tampa Bay has to be careful here. In the Week 3 matchup, Tom Brady, 41 of 55, 432 yards and a touchdown, and Matthew Stafford, 27 of 38, 343 yards and 4 touchdowns, let it fly in the Rams' 34-24 win. It's the playoffs. The running game will be more of a factor this time, and Tampa Bay will monitor Tristan Wirfs' injury throughout the week. They will need him against a pass rush led by Aaron Donald, Leonard Floyd, and Von Miller. Brady will find a way, and Keyshawn Vaughn's expanded role in the wild card win is not an accident. Mike Evans and Rob Gronkowski will catch touchdowns, but it's the threat of a running game that protects Brady here. The Buccaneers can't seem to shake off key injuries to their offense, as they will hope all-pro right tackle Tristan Wirfs with an ankle can go, and running back Leonard Fournette with a hamstring can return, as they are already hurting at wide receiver without Chris Godwin with the knee injury. They are still stuffing the run up front. They can cover better with their linebackers and defensive backs intact. They can also rush the passer and make other big plays on the ball with edge veterans Shaquille Barrett and Jason Pierre-Paul back in their 2021 playoff form. The Rams have a lot of star power, but they remain limited in their depth and versatility around Matthew Stafford and their defensive stars. Tom Brady and the Bucs are showing laser focus, tapping into a lot of what made them super successful in last year's run. This time, with the bonus of a second home game, Brady is less likely to make crucial mistakes and more likely to come through in the clutch. I got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers winning this game. My final score, I'm going to go... I think they'll pull away late. I'll say 33-23. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers defeat the Los Angeles Rams, and we'll move on to another NFC Championship showdown with the Green Bay Packers as far as I'm concerned. So give me Tampa Bay 33-23. MF, third meeting between these two. Can Tampa Bay finally break through and beat the Rams after going 0-2 previously?
Yeah, this could be the year for Tampa. They could definitely pull it off because of the fact that they got Tom Brady. Yes, their receiving core is a little beaten up. Yes, their running game is a little beaten up, but their vaunted defense really helped them last week against Philadelphia. They stymied the the Philadelphia offense, and really dominated that game. But the problem is that when you got guys like Aaron Donald, when you got guys that the defense of the Rams have, Von Miller, all these guys, and now you got Matthew Stafford and everything else. This is why this team was assembled. This is why they went out and got Odell Beckham Jr. This is why, for these moments like this is why they sold the farm, got rid of all their first-round draft picks to get Matthew Stafford and ship Jared Goff off, because they believe that this team, the Los Angeles Rams, are a Super Bowl caliber team. And at the end, they saw what Tampa did. Got to play the Super Bowl in their own house at Raymond James Stadium. The Rams wants to pull that same feat off. And guess what, Anthony? They will. I'm calling for the upset. The Los Angeles Rams knocks out the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they will be going to the NFC Championship game to face off with the Green Bay Packers. I'm in a disagreement with you. I got the Rams pulling the upset, knocking out the world champions. We will have new champions after Sunday.
Wow. That's bold, man. That's bold. So all right. The main event of divisional playoff weekend. I only wish Bullock was here, because this is the Tony, Mikey, and Bullock special right here, because Bullock's now a part of our team now.
Well, he's just to let you guys know, Michael Bullock is only going to be in a capacity as like a Booger McFarland. He's going to be on the sideline like Tony Saragusa. He will not be in the broadcast booth. He will not be in the broadcast booth. He'll only be utilized sparingly in a little bit, and as a consultant, if we have to go to a replay review, that's when Michael Bullock joins in. It's still going to be you and I kind of running the show here, Florio.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. All right. So we'll call it that anyway. So, but it's the Tony and Mikey special. Here we go. It's the rematch that we're all waiting for. Sunday night, 6:30 p.m. on CBS. The number 3 seed in the AFC, the Buffalo Bills, squaring off against the number 2 seed, the 2-time defending AFC champion Kansas City Chiefs, Arrowhead Stadium, Kansas City, Missouri. Hello, friends. Jim Nantz, Tony Romo, Tracy Wolfson, Jay Feely will be on the call for that one. And Kansas City, yes, Kansas City is the favorite, but they're the smallest favorite of the weekend. 1.5 is the spread. By the way, I forgot to mention with the FPI likes Tennessee over Cincinnati, 59.5%, about 60% going with Tennessee, 64.5% going with Green Bay, about 65%, 65.8% like Tampa Bay, about 66% going with Tampa. But here, Buffalo is the FPI favorite, albeit close, 52.1% to 47.9% for Kansas City. 52-48 in favor of Buffalo, even though Kansas City is a 1.5-point favorite. 5th playoff meeting between these two teams. They have met 4 times in the playoffs before. First meeting came in 1966. They played in the AFL championship game in Buffalo, and the Kansas City Chiefs won that game by a score of 31-7. The second meeting was in the 1991 season. I would assume January of 92. It was the AFC Divisional playoff. This round, it was in Buffalo, and the Buffalo Bills won that one 37-14. And then the third meeting, AFC Championship game in Buffalo, 1993 season, January of 94. Buffalo Bills put a 30-13 beat down on Kansas City. And then, of course, the last meeting last year, AFC Championship game, Kansas City. It was the Chiefs winning 38-24. And we all know that iconic image of Stephon Diggs just looking into the gallows and wondering what could have been and what should have been for the Buffalo Bills and Bills Mafia. So, all right, MF, here we go. This is the big one. This is the game. This is the game we're all waiting for. The main event of divisional weekend, and rightfully so. Is it gonna stay status quo? Is Kansas City gonna end crush Buffalo's dreams again, or will this be sweet redemption for Bills Mafia?
Man, this is tough. Man, this is why we get excited for matches like this, for games like this. Earlier in the year, as you remember, Buffalo took down Kansas City and took them down pretty easily.
38-20. Yep.
38-20.
Sunday night, week 5, Columbus Day weekend. We were there. However,
Kansas City never really got themselves their footing at that time. This is a different Kansas City team, Anthony. This team is more dangerous, more deadly, more lethal than they were in week 5. Week 5, they were trying to figure themselves out. They were trying to find their identity, and Buffalo caught them on a great night. I don't think that's going to happen again. I'm sorry. I just don't. I think Patrick Mahomes has figured it out. I think he isn't the home run ball guy like he was. You're seeing more short to intermediate passes. And I just feel like a team like that against Buffalo, that's too much to ask, especially if Buffalo can't. The running attack is one of Buffalo's biggest Achilles heel. We saw how New England had some success with the running attack. I think New England should have ran the ball more, and they probably would have made the game as closer as they did. But Kansas City is just too many weapons and too many factors. I think they're going to try to take Josh Allen out of the game early. I think they're going to try to frustrate him. And Eric Bieniemy, the defensive coordinator for Kansas City, man, I just feel like they're going to try to blitz. They're going to so zero packages. They're going to try to they're going to frustrate Allen all day, all night. I just don't see how this is coming out where the Buffalo win. And especially in Kansas City, nah, man, I'm sorry. I think Buffalo had a great season. You guys are the AFC Eastern Division champions again. But Kansas City is just too strong, too good, too powerful, man. I think the ride ends here for Buffalo. Kansas City wins. They advance to the AFC Championship game. It will be, 4 years in a row for the Chiefs if they make it? Or 3?
I believe it would be 4, yes.
4 in a row. I think they will be doing it Fortune 4 style, no pun intended. But I do believe it will be a Fortune 4 for the Kansas City Chiefs. I got them winning. They're heading off to the AFC Championship game again for consecutive year. They'll be in the final 2, trying to win the Lamar Hunt Trophy as the best team in the AFC. It's yours, Florio. Sorry.
Yeah. The Bills routed Kansas City 38-20 at Arrowhead Stadium in Week 5 in a game where Josh Allen had 315 yards and 3 touchdowns. Buffalo averaged 21 yards a reception in that game, and the Chiefs could not run the football outside of Patrick Mahomes scrambling. Both quarterbacks flashed their A game in the wildcard round, and Buffalo's defense is going to have to find a way to contend with quote-unquote playoff Pat. Mahomes is 6-1 with 20 touchdowns and 1 interception in 7 AFC playoff games. Can Buffalo protect the football again? The Bills did not have a turnover in the first meeting. And if Allen can do that again with the weapons around him, Buffalo will have a chance to get an AFC champion, to get back to the AFC championship game. Maybe at home if Cincinnati upsets Tennessee. I can see that happening. I really can. But like MF said, we just can't go against the Chiefs at home, especially with a defense that has improved since the first meeting. And then from there, the Bills won big at Kansas City, 38-20 in Week 5, but they won't really avenge their 38-24 AFC Championship game loss there last year unless they win around earlier this year. Buffalo is back to that level of relentless offensive play after Josh Allen fueled its flawless rout of New England in the wild card game. At the same time, for the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes also has his complete groove back after ripping the Steelers for one of his signature massive passing performances. This game will come down to patience. Allen and Mahomes had to adjust midseason with their big plays taken away, and their offenses also have obliged with more effective rushing attacks. It's all come full circle to open up the passing games with more diversity and less pressure on the QBs. The Bills have had the better defense all year, but the Chiefs have clutch experience with the advantage of a home, hostile environment. This feels like it will come down to which elite young gun will get the ball on the final possession in regulation. It's a little easier to bet on Mahomes there as the one that's been there, done that more. And keep in mind, this is not easy. This is very reluctant, by the way. As much as I want to go with my team, and I want to go with my team, I really do. Because I believe in them. I'm going to take the safe route, and I'm going to go with Kansas City. I say they'll steal it again. I will go 34-28. Kansas City rips our hearts out again. But make no mistake about it. I think this is going to be a much different Bills team, and they have been hyped for this game all week long. You see the image of Stephon Diggs, just standing there, just taking in the sights, watching Kansas City celebrate. You have no idea how much that ate at him, that ate at Josh Allen, that ate at all of the Buffalo Bills and Bills Mafia, including myself. You have no idea how hard it was for me to watch that as a long-suffering Bills fan, that close from getting to the Super Bowl. And I believe they would have given Brady and the Bucs a much more competitive game than they did last year. But I digress. But yes, I'm going to go with Kansas City to win. But Bills Mafia, don't lose hope. I believe in us. I believe we can pull this off. I really do. We outsmarted them once before. We could very easily outsmart them again because you never know which team's going to show up. So, yes, I'm going to go with KC reluctantly. I'm not 100% confident about it because Buffalo can easily steal one. They did in Week 5 on the Sunday night Columbus Day weekend. They can easily do it again. So, but if KC wins, no big surprise, right? That's all there is to it because they're used to this and they could take another step towards becoming the next great dynasty in the NFL, even though they had nothing to show for it last year. But that's all there is to it. So to the Buffalo Bills, all I can say is do what you did in Week 5. Follow that same formula. And if you do that, we got a puncher's chance to shock the world. So let's shock the world, boys. Let's shock the world. That's all there is to it. So, all right. With that being said, that will put the bow on this divisional playoff edition of Strictly Sports NFL Thursday. We want to thank you all so very much for tuning in. We'll be back with you tomorrow night at 11 p.m., immediately following AEW Rampage over on MF's channel, Brace Fan 95, for another edition of the Cerebral Smack Talk as we will review Friday Night SmackDown and AEW Rampage as always. And then Monday night, we kick off Royal Rumble week with Ridiculously Raw, the go-home show, Monday Night Raw, the go-home show for the Royal Rumble. We'll get into that. We'll also get into my Tony's take on Impact Wrestling and 205 Live. Wednesday, we got Wednesday Night Mayhem. MF will have that. with NXT 2.0 and AEW Dynamite. This program next week, we will recap the divisional playoff games, and then we will preview the AFC and NFC championship games. That'll be on this program next week. And then after that, our first huge cerebral smack talk of 2022, as we will not only review Friday Night SmackDown and AEW Rampage as always, but we are also going to preview on that show next Friday night, the 28th. We will preview the 35th annual WWE Royal Rumble. You do not want to miss that. So until tomorrow night, for the Cerebral Smack Talk over on the MX channel, Braves Fan 95, this is Anthony Florio here for Good Old MF Michael Fletcher, and in spirit, Michael Bullock, and of course, Didi Woodson. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah, throw it up Fortune 4 style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed Friday, and until tomorrow night for Rampage, or I should say for Cerebral Smack Talk, rather. You've been watching this divisional playoff edition of Strictly Sports NFL Thursday right here on the Tone 25 on YouTube and StreamYard.com. For everybody who has been a part of this one, for now, Anthony Florio. So long. Bye, everybody. Bye.